Thanks, Jason. The final story of the evening is by Sarah Hitchcock and is The Day I Took My Zombie to Alton Towers. It's from our November 2019 event, Mazurka and Other Stories. Sarah lives in Stroud and is currently working on a series of contemporary fantasy novels for young adults. Her stories have been published in several anthologies and recorded by Tempest Productions for their podcast. She has published her own anthology of short stories for adults entitled, imaginatively, Anthology, and a novel for 8 to 12-year-olds, Stan and the Enchantress. So, to read The Day I Took My Zombie to Alton Towers, please welcome Sarah Hitchcock.
A few years ago, I moved into an old Victorian house on the outskirts of Swindon. It has one of those attics that you access via a proper staircase and floorboards and a tiny round window. It was probably the maid's room. In the corner, sitting on a rickety chair and covered in a thick layer of dust, was a zombie. We hit it off immediately. I quickly realised she couldn't speak. You need a functioning tongue to be able to form words and breath to make sound come out. She can just about manage a low moaning. I spent the best part of a week trying out different names to find one she would respond to, and now she's called Susan. She has a particular way of moaning, sort of which I think is her trying to say my name, Janice. Susan is very dry for a zombie. Not that I've had much experience with the undead, but there's nothing rotting or bad smelling about her. Otherwise, I wouldn't let her in the kitchen. She's just very desiccated and papery and has a musty odour like old books. I used to be a librarian, so I'm used to the smell and actually find it rather pleasant. Because of her dryness, she's quite brittle and as a consequence extremely fragile. I mist her every day with a plant atomizer filled with spring water and a touch of lavender oil. It seems to help, but we do still have the odd accident. Once, due to ill-advised choice of footwear, flip-flops no less, she lost a little toe when it got caught in a drain cover. It disappeared into the sewer system beneath with a sad plink. I would have stuck it back if we could have retrieved it. I'm a great believer in you. Footwear, and clothes in general, are something of a problem. I won't let her go about naked, as she would prefer. I do have standards. Everything she wears has to completely undo. The idea of pulling anything on or off is unthinkable due to the high risk of limb loss. I made the mistake of putting a pair of marigolds on her once so she could help about the house, and it took us the whole day and a box set of Downton Abbey to ease them off without any damage. As it was, she lost a couple of nails and got a thumb pad stuck irreversibly to the rubber, but otherwise the gloves are still perfectly usable. Susan likes to read and watch things on the YouTube. She has very opaque, milky eyes, so it's a wonder she can see at all. I had to get her 3 pairs of the strongest over-the-counter reading glasses, which she puts on, one on top of the other. We've also strapped 2 high-power magnifying glasses together. I think she can only see a few letters at a time, so reading anything other than a menu takes a lot of perseverance on her part. I think it shows a great strength of character. Of course, I have to make sure she stays out of direct sunlight when she's using the lenses, due to the risk of incineration. Even with the misting, as I've said, she's very dry. Once, due to an unfortunate spark from the open fire, her legs caught alight. I doused her immediately with a vase of chrysanthemums that was at hand, but we've never been able to get the scorch marks out. Not even leather upholstery cleaner seems to work on dehydrated flesh. As I've said, Susan has a strong character, and that is to be applauded. However, recently, our normally tranquil home life has been disturbed. We've been at odds with one another. I take Susan out. It's not as if I don't. We go to the local library for Mills and Boon and take walks in the park. Well, I walk and she lurches, more so since her legs crisped up in the fire. So I was a little upset when she started leaving adverts for family attractions in places she knew I would find them. Pasted to the back of the Kellogg's Bran Flakes box, stuck under the loo seat, and slipped between the pages of Reader's Digest. The latest mania is for Alton Towers. I told her in no uncertain terms that a trip to an amusement park for someone of her condition would be more than ill-advised. It would be madness. So we're going next Tuesday. What can I say? She wore me down with a relentless and, I have to admit, well-thought-through campaign. She would do well in local government. It wasn't just the endless leaflets or the posters stuck to every surface that got to me. It was the moaning, literally the moaning. All night she would pace the landing, carrying a placard that read "Cruelty to the Undead," whilst loudly moaning. I was afraid the neighbours would hear. The last straw was when she wrote me a note warning that if I didn't take her to Alton Towers, she would report me to Childline. I wasn't too worried about her ringing a phone service due to her speech difficulty, but I do worry that they might have a website. She's become very adept at surfing the net, and she can be eloquently persuasive in prose. I don't want the authorities round here. I'm not sure they would accept my explanations for the missing toe and blackened knees. Alton Towers is vast, crowded, and to my mind, a little trashy. But Susan loves it. I have insisted she goes in the wheelchair and wear a large, wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses. It saves people staring and asking what's wrong with her. I managed to keep her away from the Big Dippers by taking her to see Beebe's Land and giving her several goes on the Postman Pat ride. But after lunch, I take a wrong turn and we find ourselves right in front of something called Oblivion. The ride boasts of being one of the highest G-forced roller coasters in the UK. There's no dissuading Susan. Nothing good can come of this. Susan's hat blows off first, taking an ear with it, quickly followed by her sunglasses. We've been given strict instructions to keep our hands in the car, so, naturally, Susan waves at someone on the ground just as we start the big drop. The level of screaming behind us takes on a new timbre as Susan's hand lands in a lady's lap. As we disembark, and I'm shoving Susan's stump into the pocket of her pinafore, we're greeted by a very worried-looking official. I hastily retrieve the hand from the still screaming woman and begin to explain. It was a prank. In poor taste, I agree. Look, it's only rubber. I wave it at the official, who goes from worried to irate. Susan has a condition, I explain quickly, settling her back into her wheelchair. This makes everyone suddenly uncomfortable. You can't shout at a person with a condition. Well, no harm done, says the official. Bless her. Look at that expression. She really enjoyed that ride. It's only then I catch a glimpse of Susan's face. Oh, dear God. The speed of the ride has nearly blown her face off. Her eyes are goggling wide and her lips have been blasted away from her teeth into a rictus grin of immense proportions. I jam my own sunglasses under her to hold her eyeballs in place, and we hurry away. Behind us, I hear someone say, "Poor love, did you see she only had one ear?" If she wasn't already dead, I'd kill Susan for this. Back in the car, I try and rearrange her features to look more normal, but I'm unable to wipe the grin off her face. We don't speak all the way down the M6. Well, I don't. And Susan wisely keeps her moaning to herself. "Never again," I say, as we get to the first roundabout in Swindon. "It's the park or the library or nothing from now on." Susan rustles in her handbag and pulls out a sheet of paper. I have to swerve into the bus lane as she holds it in front of my face. It's an online booking confirmation for a bungee jump off Bristol Suspension Bridge. I stare at her for the first time in genuine horror. One of Susan's baggy eyelids slides shut in a wink.
Thanks, Sarah. That's the last of the stories. Just a couple of words from me. Our next event is on the 30th of October at the Cotswold Playhouse in Stroud. The theme of that event is time, and there will be 10 authors reading. Tickets are available from the Cotswold Playhouse website. Two of tonight's authors are reading, actually, Robin Booth and Sarah, who you just heard, are both reading at that event. And of course, they're new stories. The anthology is for sale, and just in case you're worrying or wondering, this is a miniature version. It's really that size. So if you feel like carrying one of those home tonight, they're for sale over here. It's 69 stories, 48 authors, all from Gloucestershire, and it's £12. We've also got a couple of copies of the last one, which, although it's a different colour, does actually contain different stories as well. And we've got, of course, Sally Jenkinson's chapbook too. Okay. So let me thank people. Let me thank a range of people. Christiane, our administrator, 3 co-judges that helped me select these stories. That's Ali Bacon, who's here tonight, Chloe Turner and Debbie Young, David Penny, who's been videoing the event this evening, to Pam Paradine, who's done some photography, to Larry and Lucinda, who, with your help, will be selling copies of the anthologies, and to Cheltenham Literature Festival for supporting local authors. I hope you do the same, but particularly, could you put your hands together, please, for Jeff Mead, Robin Booth, Emma Kernahan, Sally Jenkinson, Steve Wheeler, Jason Jackson, and to Sarah Hitchcock. Thank you very much.